We are live on Proline TV, and this is a Pigskin Friday broadcast. And anytime we talk here on Fridays throughout the season, pretty much we're letting you know that this is going to be our last chance to give you our final analysis, opinions, and any additional picks we can give you for the weekend in the NFL and college football. Jim Feist will be with us again next week. Mark Lawrence finally joining us here on a Friday. Looking forward to getting Jim and Mark all together with me starting next Friday. How's it going, Mark?
Good, Greg. I'm glad to be in the house finally on Friday here. School's back in session.
Yep, absolutely. Yes. Perfect timing.
Yes.
And, of course, we talked yesterday. You could check out the Playbook ATS podcast that we put together every Thursday. And rest to be sure, there are several games that you can check out on that broadcast every week for both the NFL and college football that we will not double up on this show. So if you watch both shows, you're going to get an opportunity to get bonus content, bonus NFL show analysis and picks, and the same thing, of course, NFL college football. So let's get started. First off, Mark, which we'll do every Friday to take a look at what happened last night. Sure. I was actually, I think we talked about this just for a little bit, but I was really surprised, and I mentioned this on my show on Wednesday about the Packers only being a 3-point favorite in the game. I thought they looked just as good on Thursday night that they looked the previous week against Detroit. Washington looked okay, but nothing great. They were playing the Giants, and that game wasn't really all that impressive. So I think what we saw last night, once again, just shows you that the Packers are playing at an incredibly high level right now, so much so that I needed to check out the Super Bowl lines, and lo and behold, the Packers are now the second choice to win the Super Bowl at 6-1, along with the Baltimore Ravens. So what did you think about the game last night?
Well, I was a little bit surprised. I thought you'd see a much better effort from Washington in the football game. I thought there would be a tinge of letdown, if you will, in the contest on the other side by Green Bay after the Micah Parsons.
Yep, sure.
Everything settled out. They got their win. Everybody was happy. I thought they come back a little bit deflated, or maybe not at least play up to that level per se, if you will. But just a little bit disappointed in Washington, and maybe it's they who will be coming back to the norm this football season.
Maybe so. I think one of the things that really you have to be a little bit discouraged about with Washington is their running game. I mean, you didn't really understand initially when they made the trade. They traded what we thought was their number one rusher to San Francisco. And we just figured, I guess Austin Eckler must be doing good. And I know they have that 7th round draft pick. And so maybe they'd see something that we don't see. And after the game last night, that's not the case. And now Austin Eckler, it looks like he's out for the year. Another big injury in the NFL. We just saw Reed go out early in the game for the Packers. Looks like he's going to miss some time. But now Washington, and I'm not even sure even if Eckler didn't get hurt, if they weren't going to need to be in a position to make a trade for a running back somewhere, because they just can't leave it all up to Jaden Daniels.
No, and he, sort of come up short last night, if you will, per se, just 200 passing yards. It's not a typical Jaden Daniels performance. They can't afford that. They were down 14-3 at the half and really didn't have a whole lot in the bag to be able to come back with this football team against. Again, I thought Washington would play better. I thought Green Bay would not. I was wrong on both accounts. Washington, a little bit of a spark, I guess you'd say, in that fourth quarter there, but just not quite enough to get the money.
Yeah, and another thing that I've actually picked up with doing these shows with Jim, and how often Jim always talks about if the lines are any close to like 3, 3.5 even. Sometimes he'll even do 4. He says, I'm going with the money line. And now I know Jim's got a lot more money than I do to afford to do that. But I'll use that like in a parlay now. And now every time like I'll do a parlay, I'll do it specifically because I want to take advantage of like that money line option, because maybe there's a money line dog I like, which can kind of, help out with the way that the odds will sort of like, for instance, a game we're going to talk about in a little while with Arkansas and Ole Miss. I think Arkansas has a chance to upset Ole Miss, and the line is about plus 225 or something like that on the money line. So I said, you know what? Let me do a Green Bay money line, Arkansas money line parlay. So now, obviously I'm in a good situation. But my point is that on that last drive by Washington, which there were 2 minutes to go, with a little under 2 minutes to go, I wasn't worried because I had the money line. But there were a lot of Packer guys out there who had the 3 that were going, you got to be kidding me. We're blowing this team out, and they're going to get the ball with 1:50 left and be able to come down the field and backdoor me. And that happens an awful lot, backdoors.
Well, they're stress relievers playing those teams on money lines, as you mentioned there, Greg. You look ahead in the National Football League card each week, and if you find these dogs, what I say of less than 3, that you feel that the number is going to go their way, you lay the money line knowing that you can middle that game closer to game time, and you play the points, the plus on the other side on the points. So the game goes off 4.5, so you got plus 4.5, and you got a money line play. That's a nice juicy middle.
Okay, let's talk more NFL. Let's take a look at some of the games that we did not have time to talk about yesterday. Let's see, where are we? We're going to start first of all. Speaking of the Washington Commanders and the game that they had last week against the New York Giants, the Giants now will play the Dallas Cowboys. I guess I'm a little bit surprised here that the line has dropped down to 4.5. Maybe it's because it does appear that Andrew Thomas might be ready to play, and that is a big deal for the Giants. I went over this on the show on Wednesday. If you look at the stats, the Giants have a winning percentage of .385 with Andrew Thomas starting at left tackle for the Giants, but they're only a .217 win percentage. That's a record of 5-18 without him. Wow. That is a major difference. Maybe that's the reason that the line is coming down a little bit, but I actually think that's a good thing because I was taking the Cowboys anyway. They just dominate this line. I mean, dominate this series. They've been dominant in this spot in the NFC East for years. I see no reason still not to go with the Cowboys, especially the way the Giants looked on Sunday.
I agree 100% with this. And let the line come down. I mean, my goodness, if you like Dallas, you love that line move. You got a Giants football team that's 0-7 to the spread. The last 7 tries as a road dog of 6 or fewer points. That's the role the box they'll check in this particular game here. And you have to feel that Dallas feels a little bit of a pat on the back type of a loss against Philadelphia. They played really good in the football game and could have and perhaps should have won the football contest. Now they've got, going back home here for this game, another division game. You very seldom see back-to-back division games to open the season and win a team like Dallas, who was more of obviously an odds-on favorite to finish higher than the Giants. It starts out 0-1. You want to make a case for a team like the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it is. I have noticed that on some schedules this year that you have some situations where I think the Chargers are they playing Denver next week? I think they might, which means they're playing all their division opponents in the first 3 weeks of the season. So I'm seeing some situations where you have these teams playing their division opponents early, and then maybe even the division opponents. You'll see them not play a division opponent at all in some schedules until like week 14, and they play them again like week 16. So it's a little weird, but I just think that the Cowboys, again, you talk about some of these historical trends that I was able to get once again naturally right here on Mark Lawrence's Playbook magazine. So that's where I get all of my trends, everything that I talk about regarding numbers. It's coming right there from the magazine. And if you look at it, there are 2 that really stick out. And that is that the Cowboys are 26-4 in their last 30 against the spread as division favorites of more than 2. And they've covered 14 straight as a favorite of 2 or more when they're coming off a division game, taking on a losing team. So those are throw in the fact that they're actually a really good home favorite. The Giants are a pretty bad road dog. You gave the trend, and there's so much that just says it's all about the Cowboys this week. And I'd be pretty surprised if they weren't able to come out with another good effort and maybe get a win for it.
I agree 100%. I think this is all Dallas or nothing.
Okay, now let's go to the next game we have on the ledger, and it's your Cleveland Browns. Hey, look at the line actually went down a point here to 11.5 from 12.5. And look, I'm not surprised because of the fact that I actually thought this line was pretty big. Look, say what you want about the history of the Browns and all that nonsense, but look, a couple of years ago, this was not a bad team. I mean, for the most part, with Stefanski as the head coach and with this regime in place, the front office and all that, they've actually been pretty decent. They have good personnel. They have one major issue, one flaw, the quarterback spot. That's the big flaw of this franchise, and it reared its ugly head last year. We saw what happened. But Flacco showed you if you can just get some sort of just decent, average, normal play from a quarterback, the Browns are going to be a decent competitive team. And they showed that last week when they just demolished the Bengals as far as total yards in the game, stifling them in the second half. And then you get a situation here with the Browns and the Ravens. The series has actually, believe it or not, been tilted towards the Browns in the last 7 matchups. Cleveland's won 4 of those 7, and they've been a dog in 4 of those 7. So it's not like they've been favorites in all of them. Of course they haven't been. We know how good the Baltimore Ravens have been. So what do you think about this line? Do you think it's too big, or do you expect the Ravens to come out and get the win that they didn't get last week and also get it big?
Well, the Browns' MO is bringing teams down to their level when they play. We saw that with Cincinnati last week. We could well see it with Baltimore here this week. The only thing that I don't like about that theory or that thought is the fact that Baltimore comes off the loss. They also factor into our awesome angle of the week in this week's Playbook Football newsletter, and it tells you to play on any NFL non-division team off a loss in which they scored 40 or more points. That's what Baltimore did last week. Teams in this role are 18-5 against the spread. Nice little roll there. You also look at Baltimore in this contest here, 12-0 to the spread at home after they scored 35 or more points in their last game. So you get a couple of strong Baltimore trends in the contest, but fundamentally, I think this game fits Cleveland like a glove just to bring Baltimore down to their level here. You had a playoff team in Baltimore that came up deeply disappointed. I don't see how they get even remotely close to being up for this game like they were last week. I'm going to rely on the angle and the trend here to check the box for Baltimore here. But will I play the game? Probably not.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out a lot about the Browns in this one because we know about the Ravens. And look, I'm not saying the Browns are going to win the game, but even if the Browns won the game, let's just say, stranger things have happened. Because remember, what was it, last year or the year before, the Ravens lost to the Raiders at home? Remember that? Early in the season, They were same situation, they were heavy favorite. They lost to the Raiders at home. It didn't matter. They were still the same team. So anything can happen. But the Browns, after what happened last week and the fact that they have Flacco, I think this is okay, was it a 1-week deal, or is this a Brown team that's going to end up being a lot better than we give them credit for? So,
well, I think Kevin Stefanski holds the key to that answer, and he's really, really a solid coach. He very seldom gets out-coached in football games. And John Harbaugh has taken a little bit of flack here of late. I know he's been really, really strong in the preseason that we talked about on the podcast earlier this football season as we led into the year. But he's also been a coach whose teams have really sort of like disappeared in the second half of football games. I don't know, when you're talking about a dog like this or a division dog and this big of a number, they can't even think about disappearing in the second half of a game like this if they want to cash the ticket. That's what makes laying Baltimore difficult for me. But I got to let that angle keep me out of Cleveland.
You know what I want to take a look at is if the Browns, let's say they put up a lot of points in this game. Let's say it's Ravens win 35-30 or something. If that happens, watch out, because Baltimore's defensive coordinator, his job might be on the line. He was very inexperienced, did not do a great job last year. And, they can get all the veteran former defensive coordinators they want. Pease last year, I forget who it was. Who was the former Ravens coach that turned into the head coach of the Colts for like 5 years? He's now the assistant DB's coach for the Ravens. So they can get all those guys they want. But it's up to that defensive coordinator who's calling the game during the game. And if he doesn't get the job done, his job may be on the line. Okay. So
Frank Reich is who you're talking about?
No, he was actually there for about 5 or 6 years. And I'm trying to remember if he had I think he was in one playoff appearance. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and grab it because I have all this information handy. So let's see. That would be, let's see. I'll get it right here. Chuck Pagano.
Okay.
Yeah. Chuck was out. He's actually out of football for 4 years. And that's how desperate the Ravens were to bring him in. So he was the Colts. He was with the Colts as head coach for 6 years, and was also with the Ravens for 4 years prior to that. 3 years as DB coach and 1 year as defensive coordinator. Then he got the job with the Colts as head coach.
Yeah, he had a lot of injuries and illnesses, did Pagano, and that's what really short-circuited his coaching career. Really, really well liked, and I hope he's doing well these days as we speak.
Last game we want to talk about in the NFL before we turn our attention to college football, and this one is an early contest. Let's see, why isn't it on here? It is the Patriots and the Dolphins, and this one is Miami 1.5. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I kind of thought that. I mean, I could see why the Dolphins were like a 1-point favorite. I could also see if the Patriots were a 1-point favorite. And I might have even predicted it 1. But as soon as I saw it myself, I just said, I don't know. I mean, I think I saw what happened last week. We've all been worried about this Dolphin team for months. And then they go out week 1, and everything we were worried about, everything happened to the umpteenth possibility in the worst case. And now they are back home and a 1-point after the way they played. How could they be favored over anybody but the Saints or the Titans? I mean, this is a Patriot team that everybody in the offseason was raving about how good the Patriots are going to be this year. They're going to be a sleeper team. They were favored against Las Vegas last week. And then they lose one game and they're a dog to this team. So I don't know. I know the Dolphins have owned the Patriots. I get that. But I have to just take the Pats in this one. I'd be really surprised if New England does not win this game.
Well, I'm going to look at the other side of the game here, just for the situation being what it is. You know that Mike McDaniel's obviously on the hot seat here. And this game has been priced accordingly because of their poor performance last week. New England didn't play all that well either, but Miami stunk up the joint. So now you're getting them here relatively in a win situation in a contest like this. McDaniel's Achilles heel is he's never fared well against winning teams. 5-18 straight up, 7-16 to the spread. But this is not a winning team in New England here, and I don't believe they're going to be a winning football team. What I like more is the fact that in the series, the Dolphins have dominated. They won 8 of the last 9 on the scoreboard and cashed all 9 times. And now you've got a red-faced home team here that's thoroughly embarrassed after last week's effort here. I think this is value to Miami in the football game because of the price and the results we saw last week. Okay,
that's the NFL. Now let's take a look at college. And we've got a few games that we want to go over in this on this Saturday. And we're going to start with a big ACC game between Clemson and Georgia Tech. The line is now down to 3. And the big situation here is the health of Antonio Williams, the stud wide receiver for Clemson. He gets banged up early in the LSU game, and Clemson just couldn't do anything. They ran the ball a little bit last week, and they got behind early. They were down 16-0 to Troy, and they come back and win the football game in the second half. They actually were able to run the ball a little bit, but that's Troy. Now they got to step up with Georgia Tech. Looks like quarterback is going to be okay for Georgia Tech. That's important. I know Haynes King got banged up a little bit. Actually been on that game-winning touchdown run against Colorado late in the game because he looked like he was fine. And then we don't see him last week, but why should we see him? I think that was the perfect situation to rest someone like Haynes King, who needs to run the football as the quarterback. So why get him banged up? Put him in that situation against FCS team. I thought that was a good call. Philo, the freshman quarterback, had a really good outing. I think he's a redshirt freshman. And there you go. But as far as this matchup, Mark, Clemson has really handled Georgia Tech. This has not been a real problem rivalry for Clemson at this point. I just think a lot of it rests on Antonio Williams. And I don't know what to say, except check out tomorrow early in the game. See if Antonio Williams is going to play. If you have questions about Clemson because of that, and he doesn't play, then I just either stay away from the game or take Georgia Tech. I don't like the way Clemson's going right now without their best offensive weapon. For Georgia Tech, we know how huge of a game this is going to be for the program to see if they can actually knock off the big boys and maybe proclaim to everybody that we're a real serious ACC contender.
Well, this number has moved the way it has, Greg, for two reasons. Number one, because of the injury situation, or the perceived injury situation, which is not confirmed. We'll find that out, like you say, tomorrow. Number two is Clemson's terrible play out of the gate so far this football season. A lot more was expected from this team. And in fact, many people had this team making the college football playoff. I will go so far as to say that I had Clemson playing in the championship game of the college football playoff.
Sure.
Yes. That's how I felt loaded and stacked they were coming in here. Number one team in the country in returning production rankings. You had a quarterback that was in the Heisman Trophy talk, and Cade Klubnik. He hasn't performed well, nor has the football team. So what does that become here? It becomes a lot of value for Clemson in this football contest. Dabo Swinney's been known to have the heat been put on him and then take it right back off with good efforts. And I think you'll find that in a game like this. Georgia Tech's going to be a good football team this year, but I think the expectancy is a little bit too much in this football game. You push the envelope a little too far with this line here. -3 or less, I'll be on the Clemson Tiger.
Yeah, for Georgia Tech in this spot, they've done well. Of course, don't forget they had the big upset win last year against Miami. They're 2-1 straight up, 3-0 against the spread as a home dog under Brent Key. He's been there for 2 years. But Clemson has owned all the other big factors, including they've won 9 straight against Georgia Tech, 7-1-1 against the spread during that 9-game winning streak. They're also 9-1 against the spread off a double-digit straight-up home win. So there's a lot to like about Clemson. One note that does work against them, in their last 5 true road openers, they've won 3 out of 5, but they've dropped all 5 covers. But again, the line is now down to 3. So not a lot there. Maybe if you want to take Clemson, take the money line. That might be something. It's only 148. It's not a lot for a number like that. But check out Antonio Williams, the health of Antonio Williams. That could be really big for Clemson. Okay, next up, let's talk SEC. And we've got a 3:30 game here. And this is really one where this line really surprised me as much as any line that I was looking at. And that's the Georgia game against Tennessee. The Bulldogs are now close to, what are they? Now we're a 4-point favorite in this one. I thought they'd be like a 6-7 point favorite. This line really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And one of the main reasons it doesn't is the injury status of the Tennessee Volunteers starting secondary. They have 2 corners that are considered before the season as maybe being the top 2 corners for any duo in all of college football, including the kid Brew McCoy for Tennessee, who is a first-round talent. Well, he's been out with an ACL injury since January, and he hasn't played this year. The opposite corner for Tennessee gets hurt week 1, and he's not going to play this week. So that means they're out with their 2 starting corners against Georgia, and yet the line is still down to only 4, keeping in mind that Georgia has won 8 straight against Tennessee, covering 7 of 8 by a 24.8 winning margin. And I think the smallest winning margin was last year when they won by 14 points during that 8-game winning streak. So I have to give the points here and take Georgia.
Well, I'm gonna go with the move in this football game. I don't like it because losing value here in a situation like this. But let me ask you this: wasn't Brew McCoy a quarterback at Southern Cal when he started his career?
Might have been another.
I believe so, and I think he's probably like a 6th-year player. I mean, he's been around like forever. When you mentioned that name, it was like, I know that name. I know where he was.
I'll check that out. Yeah,
obviously a talented player. If he's starting in the backfield here for Georgia, unquestionably.
Oh, Brew McCoy is a cornerback for.
Yes, he's a cornerback.
No, I'm talking about. We're talking about the wide receiver. But let me see if I'm getting the names mixed up. It's might be another player's name. Let me check. Let's see, because I think we are getting the players mixed up here. Here we go. No, it's Jermod McCoy.
Okay.
So Jermod McCoy is the one, but Brew McCoy was the guy I think you were talking about. He's no longer with Tennessee. He's I think he was with them last year, I believe. So yeah, so we're talking about someone completely different. Jermond McCoy is the player that is the star corner for Tennessee.
Well, I'm a big Sam Pittman fan, as you know, and Sam Pittman needs a marquee win. He's been taking a little bit of flack for the program not going in the direction that the fans anxiously are wanting it to go into. A win like this is a big feather in their cap, a big bullet in their holster, per se, if you will. And you've got numbers here to Tennessee, 6-1 to the spread at home when hosting an undefeated Southeast Conference opponent like they are. That means they get up for big football games like they do. I think this is the right spot for the upset here in this football contest. I've been at the stadium there in Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, and it's imposing. It's you are engulfed with fans.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All around you. It's unbelievable. In fact, the game I was at, it was Mark Richt was there, and his team, Georgia team, was playing them, and his wife and kids were sitting in front of us. And they were like the only ones in the stadium that were cheering whenever Georgia had the football. It was 100% pure Tennessee Vols fan in the football game. They're rabid about their football program there. I think this is a win that Sam Pittman needs, and it's a win I think Sam Pittman gets.
Oh, well, you're thinking about Arkansas, the next game. That's Josh Heupel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, he does need the win. I mean, if you think about it, that game, the playoff game last year against Ohio State was a big dud. He loses the quarterback. This is the interesting thing. The star quarterback leaves the program, and then he brings in Aguiar, the Sun Belt quarterback, who was going to UCLA. And now he's with Tennessee, and he's actually playing well for Tennessee. Now he's got to step up, though. This is Georgia. This is not Syracuse. This is not FCS opponent. This is a big one now, and we'll find out if he's got the goods. But part of, I think, the other reason why this line is so small is that Georgia hasn't looked like impressive so far this year, even though they really haven't played anybody. There's a lot of talk about they've looked sluggish on offense, and this is Gunnar Stockton's chance to be a full-time starter for the team. I don't know. If Georgia, let's just put it this way. If Georgia loses this game, then, man, to me, I just think that just shows once again that we've just got parity all over the place because this just wouldn't normally happen to Georgia. But we'll see. I'm willing to give Georgia the benefit of the doubt at least one more season. But anything is possible now in this new day and age we live in college football.
Let me say one thing here before we get out of here on this game here. I do an article or column called Bet You Didn't Know each week in the newsletter. And this week's Bet You Didn't Know article is called Don't Do Me Like That. And it's disrespect largely to undefeated home dogs, which Tennessee happens to be in this game. And when those undefeated home dogs have scored 90 or more points in their last two football games, they're coming in here 14-3 against the spread. That's a big number here for Tennessee. I think they can live up to that standard.
Okay, so we'll see if Josh Heupel can get a big win for the program. Next up is going to be our final college game before, well, we've got a few other things we're going to talk about in the college game, but as far as our top three, we just mentioned it, Arkansas and Ole Miss. And this is going to be another big situation, as you were also talking about, not only for Heupel, but for Sam Pittman, because Pittman, I think, has done a really good job with the program. Where they were before he took over, they were just awful, Arkansas. And he got them to actually perform better than people thought initially. And now they've been a little stagnant the last couple of seasons. But all of a sudden this year, and this is what happens, is again, this is why, I think this is where you can get actual good stuff coming out of the portal, is that Taylon Green, the quarterback for Arkansas, who was once used to play for Boise State, is off to a fantastic start. And he's a dual threat quarterback, and he's the real deal. He might even be a Heisman sleeper. That's how good he's playing. But if he wants to win the Heisman or be in contention for that, you have to win a game like this. And I think he's got the goods to do it. Last year, a lot of the problems for Arkansas had to do with turnovers. So you have to limit the turnovers or win the turnover battle. That's important for Arkansas. In this matchup, too, keep in mind that Arkansas has won 6 of the last 12 against Ole Miss. They've also covered 10 of the last 12, and 6 wins have been by upset. So this is something Arkansas has been known to do in this rivalry. They're also coming in with revenge, getting walloped last year, 63-31. Pittman is 16-6 against the spread on the road as a road dog in his 5 years as a coach. And sophomore quarterback Austin Simmons has not looked all that great so far. He's got a 3-4. That's 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions ratio so far in his 2 starts. 2 interceptions against Georgia State, 2 interceptions against Kentucky. And sooner or later, that's going to bite them. And I think it could be as early as Saturday night.
Well, again, I'm going to reiterate my faux pas earlier and reiterate the fact that Sam Pittman is my guy. Okay. Especially in this particular football game, needing that big win, a marquee win like this. Goes into Ole Miss as an underdog who's getting a lot of respect as we're speaking here right now, by the way. This is the big win they need, the marquee win, to put that bullet in their holster. I'm looking at Lane Kiffin here, who has really struggled at home when undefeated opponents that have revenge come in to play at Lane Kiffin's house. He's in the 27 games that he's hosted those teams, he only won 9 of them against the spread. 0-4 against opponents that come in undefeated, as I say here. This is a good stat situation for Arkansas in the football contest. I smell the upset. I like Arkansas to take Ole Miss down.
Yeah, Ole Miss also just 5-11-1 against the spread. Their last 17 is a home favorite. And we'll see if Arkansas can get a big win for Sam Pittman, just like Tennessee can use one for Josh Heupel. The line, I believe, started at 8. It's now down to 6.5. So a lot of money now going on Arkansas over the last few days.
Let me clean up that Lane Kiffin stat if I may here.
Sure.
I mentioned when he's at home and the opponent comes in with revenge, he's 9-16-2 to the spread, meaning he's cashed in 9 of the 27 games he's been in. And when that opponent is undefeated, he is 0-4 against the spread.
Okay. So that's even better. We got that 100% in 4 games. That'll work for me. All right. So a couple of upsets we want to talk about, or at least I want to throw in here, because we did talk about 3 double-digit upsets on the show yesterday. So you want to check that out. Matter of fact, I also put a video just about that. It's like a 5-minute upset, double-digit upset video. You can check it out on the channel. And these are not double-digit upsets, though. These are just a couple more upsets that I'm going to be looking at. And here's one of them right here. It's going to be on Saturday night, Old Dominion, Virginia Tech. And this line is now starting to drop. So it's now down to 5.5. And I think it started at about 7.5. So it really has been coming down. And we talked a lot about Virginia Tech on the show yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Because of the opponents they've played the first 2 weeks, South Carolina and Vanderbilt. And they really haven't looked all that great in either game. So now Old Dominion comes in, and Old Dominion did not have that bad of a game in their week 1 outing at Indiana. That was a pretty decent performance, considering they were a heavy dog. But take a look at some of these numbers for Old Dominion. Last year, they lost 6 games by 8 points or less. That showed you that they were a team that was really close, but they just couldn't get over the hump. I think Ronnie, the head coach, has done a really good job, but I think this could be the type of win he needs to have that breakthrough. If you look at it, he had 2 upset wins last year as 10-point dogs. Here, it's only down to 5.5. Old Dominion is also 12-5 against the spread. Their last 17 as a road dog, including the cover against Indiana in week 1. And these 2 teams actually have played a lot lately. They're like kind of, you can call them kind of rivals. And Old Dominion has actually won 2 out of the 5, which is not bad, considering it's an ACC team, and they've covered 3 out of the 5. And I say that, this is the perfect opportunity for Ronnie to get his marquee win, and for Virginia Tech to maybe this is the kind of loss that puts like the death nail in their head coach, because I think Virginia Tech at the end of the season will be looking for a new one.
Well, I don't recall the name of the quarterback at Virginia Tech, but it was said that I was reading some posts on X, and there's a lot of anti-Virginia Tech fans, and they are just shouting out the fact that they overpaid for their quarterback.
Okay.
It's kind of the
Drones. His name is Drones.
Okay. That's the world we live in these days. A college football team overpaid for a quarterback.
Not good.
But I'm with you. I think this Old Dominion is a gutsy team. I think they're going to be a bowl team this year. I don't think Virginia Tech will be, and this could be the start which heads them into a bowl position.
Okay, and then the second upset I want to throw in there. This game is going to be at 5:00. It's Bowling Green. This line is down to 5.5 now. Now it's homecoming for Bowling Green, so this is as big as a game as you're going to get all year for the program. You're getting, now it's come down. It was close to 2-1 on the money line. It's starting to come down a little bit. Liberty is just 1-5 against the spread. Their last 6 is a road favorite, including a loss outright at Jacksonville State just last week. And they're also 0-7 against the spread. Their last 7 as a non-conference road favorite of 4 or more. Meanwhile, if you look at Bowling Green, yes, this is Eddie George's team. They've got a quarterback by the name of Drew Pine. And this kid has been everywhere. Notre Dame, Missouri, Arizona State. But he started his career, first 3 years at Notre Dame. And so far, he's off to a great start. He's completing 76% of his passes. And I think this is all right for the upset. I just don't like the way Liberty's been performing so far this season.
Well, you take a look inside the stats, Bowling Green here. They played really, really well in the win over Lafayette, which they were expected to do. But the loss to Cincinnati, as close as it was, well, at least they covered the spread, I should say. But in the stats, they played really, really well. They only lost the stats in that football game, I believe, like 80 yards in the football contest. And you're talking about a Liberty football team that comes in here with a lot of name and a lot of reputation. Now, the thing that concerns me here is that they were favored at Jacksonville State. They lost the game, but they won the yards by over 100 yards in the contest. Normally, I'm going to make a case for a team like that the following week, but I'm not going to make a case for that when they go out as road favorites. This is, again, maybe a signature win type game for Bowling Green. Not so much here for Liberty. Liberty's got James Madison coming up on deck next week, a much, much bigger football game. I'm with you. I think Bowling Green has a potential to pull the upset here.
Okay. Now, a few other games before we wrap it up. I just want to go through in college for whatever reason, a variety of reasons. Oklahoma had a big win against Michigan. To start, a big, hopefully, to start, even though, of course, they've already won a few games. But really, that was the signature start of their season to see if they were for real. Now they've got to come right back to Temple. Look, I said this week 1 when I actually put my neck on the line and said that Temple was one of my top picks of the week when they were pick them against UMass. And he blew out UMass. I just think that Temple now, the hiring of Casey Keeler is so huge. This guy is a winning coach everywhere he goes. He's got a quarterback, Evan Simon, that is off to a tremendous start. He was actually a one-time Rutgers recruit, so he's a Power 4 recruit. And now he's playing at Temple, and he's been off to a great start. If you take a look at his stats, I believe he's somewhere like around 9 touchdowns and no interceptions in his first 2 games, completing 77% of his passes. They've got a running back, Jay Drucker, who had 1,100 yards as a freshman for Northern Illinois. He's been so they've got, this is going to be a much better team at Temple than anybody thinks they're going to be. I'm not calling an upset. All I think is it's a lot of points. I expect Oklahoma to come down a little bit, but I really just also wanted to throw out the fact that just keep an eye on Temple this year. I think they're going to be a better team than people think. And maybe at some point this season, there'll be another good chance to take advantage of Temple in a money line play that's a lot more reasonable, for an outright upset. But anyway, I think Temple's got a really good coach, and I think they're a team that might be on the rise, believe it or not. They were actually pretty good when Matt Rule was there, so why can't they be pretty good with Casey Keeler?
I think they will be. I think he's making a huge, vast improvement with this football program here. Good friend of mine, Howard Eskin, Sports Talk Radio in Philadelphia, knows him real well, speaks the world of him as a head coach. He warned me at the beginning of the season this team is going to be really better than people expected this season here. They've done nothing wrong in their first two football games. They've obliterated their two opponents in the stats. And this fits one of my golden axioms. And what the gold in the axiom is that you have a home underdog who in his last two games has scored 40 or more points in back-to-back games. That's one of the best college football betting angles there is. That's on Temple this particular week. I'm going to dig deep in my pocket for Temple this week and probably play them a little more than usual.
Wow. Okay. Well, go Owls.
There we go.
Speaking of Owls, like that segue?
Yes.
FAU and FIU. And this is a game in your part of the country. This is a South Florida rivalry. So you know about this rivalry more than most people in the country. And I know it's not Ohio State and Michigan, but it's still a rivalry. And this is one of those situations, Mark, that we talk about every year, which is the situation when you have one program or one team that dominates the other, and then the team that is the other is the favorite. And that's what we're getting here with Florida Atlantic and FIU. FAU has beaten Florida International 7 straight times, straight up and against the spread, by a 30-point per game margin. And they've been favored in 6 of the 7 that they've won. And the only thing I can think of why this game is FIU 2.5 is how FIU played last week against Penn State. Is that they did not get obliterated, that the game was reasonably close for it was like 24-0 like for most of the game, I think. And that's okay when you're playing at Penn State. It wasn't 50-0. Because let's also keep in mind, this is FAU from the AAC. That is considered the best group of 5 conference in college football. FIU plays in the Conference USA, which is considered the worst group of 5 college football. Meaning Florida Atlantic has more talent than FIU. So I'm just a little bit surprised that FAU is getting 2.5 points here.
I'm with you, Greg, 100% in this football game here. This is what we call fat against fit. Florida Atlantic fat, Florida International fit, but not so fit for this football game. You've got the wrong team favored here, in my belief. You look at the stats. Obviously, they're all to Florida Atlantic against Florida International coming into this contest. Look at the last 6 times Florida International has laid points. They've only won one of those games straight up. I think the wrong team is favored here, and I have no problem, none whatsoever, taking the Owls from Florida Atlantic in this contest.
Yeah, you'll probably have to watch this game on ESPN Plus if you're lucky. That's probably the best chance you'll have, which is okay. ESPN Plus, they got a lot of games on college football, and I'm sure this will be one of them. Okay, so here's a game that's going to be at night, late night game, 7:00 game. Another one of those starts. Illinois is a heavy favorite against Western Michigan, 27.5. But I actually am going to take the dog here, and I'm going to take the dog here because I think Western Michigan is going to be a pretty good MAC team this year. They have covered their first 2 games. They did not get annihilated against Michigan State. They could have and probably should have won last week against North Texas. They were a double-digit dog. They have covered 9 straight as dogs off back-to-back straight-up losses, which they are in this situation. Illinois, meanwhile, under Brett Bielema, they are 3-10-2 against the spread as a home favorite. And when they play MAC teams, Illinois is just 1-5-1 against the spread. This is also a sandwich game. You had a big opponent last week on the road when they blew out Duke. Next week, they're going to be at Indiana. So I think this is one of those weeks where Western Michigan might be able to take advantage of the heavy point spread.
I agree again, 100% with you. I think this is a case where Illinois plays down to the level of the opposition. The opposition here in this case is not that bad of an opponent coming out of the MAC conference. That's a huge look ahead to Indiana next week. That's going to be for bragging rights somewhere in the Big Ten at some point, who's going to finish first, second, or third between these 2 football teams here. I think it's very attractive to take the dog in this particular situation here. They're on the road. They're getting an exorbitant amount of points. Indiana up next. Give me, in this contest, the Broncos from Western Michigan.
Also, keep in mind that the blowout win last week by Illinois by 20 points or whatever against Duke. Keep in mind there were 5 turnovers in the game by Duke. I'm not trying to take anything away from Illinois because I am a big fan of this Illinois team this year. I think they're a sleeper in the Big Ten, actual championship sleeper. That's how good I think they are. But the situation, the way that it is, I think might be really good for them to maybe give up a little bit with Indiana on deck. And this is the last game, and it's Minnesota at California. Minnesota is a 3-point road favorite at Cal, and it's one of our oldie favorite coaches,
Yes.
Mr. Wilcox at California. He's still there, which is a good sign. But the reason why Wilcox has been a favorite of ours has been because of a couple of different spreads that once again present itself this week. And that is Cal as a home dog and also Cal as a non-conference dog. They have been excellent under this situation here, especially under Justin Wilcox. They have covered 8 out of 10 as a home dog, and they've covered 11 straight as non-conference dogs the last 11 years. And Minnesota is definitely a better team, but I don't look at Minnesota as that much of a better team. You know, they have a redshirt freshman quarterback making his first start on the road. So there's a lot there to be a little bit concerned about with Minnesota. So, yeah, I just think that, look, Cal's got a freshman quarterback, and that's where I would be a little bit concerned with. But, hey, the trends are the trends, and Cal just loves being in this spot.
I agree with you again, Greg. We're on the same page here. We must have ate the same thing for lunch and dinner.
I don't know about that. Probably not.
We're on a lot of these games here together, and I like it. You mentioned Justin Wilcox. I don't think he is in with a Power 5 conference. I think he should be in a better Power 5 conference. All he does is keeps his team competitive. They've gone bowling each of the last 2 years. But look at the comparative analogy I'm going to make here. In these, they both played FCS teams last week. They both open up 2-0. They've both opened up with solid wins in the stats in both of those football games. Last week, Minnesota beats Northwestern State 66-0, and they gained 486 yards. Last week, California beat Texas Southern 35-3, and they gained 467 yards. The yardage does not match the scoreboard for Minnesota. You don't put up 484 yards and walk away with 66 points. That's walking away with an inflated win. And these players kind of in their mind think, man, we put up 66 points. What they forgot is they only gained 484 yards in the contest. California earned their win. They held Texas Southern to 192 yards in the game here. I think, again, the wrong team is favored here. I like the Cal Bears in this upset.
Yeah, Darius Taylor is the best player on the field. He's the one that Cal has to stop. He's got pro potential in the backfield for Minnesota. If they can do that, they can limit him to like 120 for the game. I think they'll be in good shape. But here's another one just to close out. Minnesota just a 1-9 against the spread after they allow less than 7 points. And that is what they are doing here as well in this situation. So that is going to wrap it up, Mark. It's been another long week that I guess you could say officially closes here on ProLine TV. Next week, it's week 3 in the NFL, week 4 in college football. I'm just glad it's still September. We still have, half the month to go because it goes by so quick, Mark. And I just want to relish every minute, every week that we have of football.
I say the same thing. You blink and all of a sudden it's gone. And I'm looking at myself. I'm saying, my goodness, some teams after this week are going to be going into their 4th game of the season already. It seems like it just began, but it does go by fast. Enjoy it while it's here. It's not going to last long, but I'm really looking forward to doing this with you every Friday for some late Friday tips and sleeper trends and things like that. And also, you mentioned the last podcast live here on ProLine TV. You can also check out our earlier work on ProLine TV, our ATS podcast. Jim Feist doing work with Victor King, Andy Isco, and Greg DePalma doing all of his fine work. Check it all out in the library here at ProLine TV.
We'll close. John Putnam, one of our viewers, he says, should I put my clothespin on before I play Purdue tomorrow?
Absolutely. That's a big clothespin, John. A big clothespin.
That was one of the games we just mentioned. There was some double-digit upset plays from yesterday's show.
But we also advised the same thing in our big call of South Florida over Florida, an 18-point dog. We asked for the clothespin. We didn't even need it.
There you go.
Yes.
So South Florida will definitely be real interested in how they perform in your neck of the woods in Miami. We'll see what kind of crowd they get. Hopefully it's a nice crowd. Of course, they always come out for the big ones, but I don't know. Considering South Florida, the start that they're off to, maybe we'll get nice attendance at the game on Saturday.
Well, they'll get a bigger crowd than the Miami Dolphins will. I'm pretty sure about
that. Yeah, I don't know about whether or not Dolphin fans are real happy. It is their home opener, so you never know. All right. So again, as Mark said, take a look at every section on our homepage, especially, of course, football, NFL, college football. You've got the Playbook ATS podcast section. So we have tons of shows. Jim just recorded 2 more videos that we're going to be popping out there for you. His weekly show with Victor King, that is on totals and props. He also did one with Andy. We're going to post that tomorrow. That's on teasers and alternate lines. So we still have more videos to go with Jim Feist, Andy Isco, Victor King. Look out for that over the next couple of days, and enjoy your football through the weekend. And we'll be back on Monday talking football when Jim and I recap the weekend in the NFL. And also I'll talk some college football. This will be on Monday and every Monday right here on Proline TV. So, Mark, appreciate your time as always, and have a great weekend.
Hey, let's have a great weekend, Greg, and let's hope the ball bounces our way.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.